Thursday. Welcome to On the Move with Nan and Cam. We are so excited to have on some 10K themed guests today. We've had a full 10K day, really. The whole day has been Ukrop's Monument Avenue 10K presented by Kroger. We had 10K reveal day, which is one of our favorite days. We, for those of you that don't know or haven't checked out social, we reveal the artwork and the shirt design, medal design, all of that behind the 10K for this year. And we are lucky enough to be joined by the creative mind behind that. We have got Jason St. Peter and Bridget Guckin from Think with us. Hi, how are y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you?
We're great.
Thank you guys for having us. We're excited to talk with you.
Oh yeah, we're pumped up. Did you guys enjoy some breakfast pizza, Ukrop's goodies, all of that this morning with us at Reveal Day?
All of the above. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I breakfast pizza for lunch as well. So it's a heavy diet of breakfast za over here.
Yeah, just keep it rolling all day.
Yeah, those, I don't know.
For dinner.
Yeah.
I don't know who you guys had those cakes made by. I'm assuming somebody at Ukrop's, but those were really impressive. And it was really cool to see all the design work on the cakes too.
I'm sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I hope you guys got pictures of it. They always blow us away with that. They put the shirt design and sometimes even the medal design on cakes, and they are beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we took some photos. We're happy to share if you guys don't have them yourself.
Excellent. I know they taste great too, as I saw people downstairs just digging in. So they taste as good as they look. So this year, just as we said, Think really did all of the design work for all of our 10K swag. And we had some meetings about it earlier in the summer. But just give us some background, if y'all don't mind, on Think and just everything that you all are about, and then how you got involved with the 10K.
Sure. So Think started 14 years ago, 2009, and in November. And it was really just myself doing some freelance projects with some other local agencies here in Richmond. And one referral led to another. Things got busy. Started hiring help, from art directors to account directors to web developers. And we're still a pretty small boutique creative agency, but we've been in it for about a decade and a half now, and take on some a lot of brand development projects and a lot of creative projects like this one. Nothing quite exactly like this one, and we're super excited to be part of this event. I personally have been running this race. I've been in Richmond for 20 years now, and I've run it countless times. And even the years I don't run it, I'm out there cheering or walking along on the sidewalk or whatever it is. And it's been a huge part of my life in Richmond. And now our office is 2 blocks from Monument Avenue, so we're very much looking forward to being part of this year's. How we got involved was through In Unison, actually, here, the prior Retail Merchants Association. Actually, Snyder with Sports Backers through Unison, actually, Smart Hall, where we were this
morning. Fitting.
Yeah. It's all full circle. And, I met her and Daniel with Ukrop, and I think Ashley also went to Longwood, where I went to school. And so we just started catching up and talking about everything that you all have going on. And I, immediately threw a name in the hat. If you guys ever needed a creative partner to help brainstorm and create some of this kind of stuff, and the rest is history. And we started working together right away, concepting. And you probably have more Q&A that I won't dive too much into on the intro. But that's how we got here.
Awesome. I mean, 2 blocks away, it sounds like you guys are signed up to have a killer cheer station maybe, right, or a spirit group, just a Think porch party.
Yeah. We're sitting in a garage bay right now that is kind of facing Monument Avenue. Each year it comes around and we make our notices and walk down to Monument and hang out. Even if we do that afterwards. So yeah.
That's awesome. Bridget, have you ever done the 10K, or have you stuck to the sidelines so far?
So far, I'm just stuck to the sidelines, but I'm excited this year to, at the very least, walk in.
Yeah, the sidelines are still a great place to be.
The first year Bridget joined Think, we did a 10K together, or was it a 5K?
I think it was a 5K.
A 5K in Ashland. what I can't even remember what the name of that race was, but it started and ended at the brewery out there.
Oh, fun.
Center of the universe. Yeah, but we made t-shirts and all of us did that race. So I honestly, we hadn't even thought about that or talked about that till just this second. And that was over 6 years ago. So yeah, so we're back at it again.
Everybody will be in your team shirts this year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exciting. So I know, like you said, you're excited to help out because although we do have Ashley and we have Dion that normally do create, our medals and our shirts, and they're awesome and great and the best in the world. But sometimes we do need some help just because your brain only goes so far when you've been doing the merch for these races over and over and over. So when you got involved with the 10K, where did you start with the design? Like, what was your design concept and how you started thinking about it? And yeah, how excited were you?
Yeah, we were super excited. I remember Jason coming in and telling us, this might be what we're working on for the next few months. And kind of as we got started as a team, we really took into consideration the fact that it was the 25-year anniversary and just how special that is. So, we all collected different inspiration and kind of came together and shared and kind of found our footing in definitely wanting to highlight Monument Avenue itself with some of the recognizable architecture, the streets themselves, kind of the history there. And we also wanted to center on celebration and Jubilee and some of the art direction that we found too. We liked that kind of 90s, early 2000s kind of CMYK, bright fun, patterns and that kind of thing. And we kind of all got to work trying to think, how do we bring all of these ideas together? And then that kind of led to us having two solid directions, one a little bit more focused on celebration and the other more focused on just kind of Monument Avenue itself and some of the structures and that kind of thing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, Bridget really brought home the celebratory aspect of it. And, my mind was stuck on just kind of the history of literally the pavement of that street, and how many feet have run on it, how many steps have happened there. And the fact I've heard stories about it's been paved over and then the pavement's been pulled back off and people have vowed to tear it up, and it's just such an iconic, the asphalt blocks that it's made out of. I was doing research. It's one of, I think only, I could be, don't quote me on this, but two places I think in the entire country where it has an entire street that length built from asphalt blocks. And I think the one here in Richmond might be the longest. And so, when you see those diagrams of history of the Earth's crust, I started thinking about Monument Avenue and the 25 years of this race, in the grand scheme of things, 25 years isn't, an ice age, but it's a lot to happen, and, to the monuments themselves coming down, and that street has seen so many different eras and people and, races and so many, there's festivities happening year round on that street from the Easter party, to the 10K, and just how much of Richmond is there and the excitement of the live music and all of that happening. So, as Bridget was really honing in the sort of life force aspect of it, I was looking at the iconic, 100-year-old houses and the details and the wrought iron fences and how the streets are paved and the curbs and all of that. We were looking at bird's eye views of the traffic circles and how can we integrate all of this into a simplistic, fun, engaging, campaign that is on surface level attractive. But if you start, peeling off the layers, you're like, oh God, they've really thought this through all the way on, and given Monument the respect it's due, for all the fun we've shared there over the years. So.
Yeah. And I think before we go any further, I totally forgot we've got the items to show people on here just in case they're watching and not just listening. But yeah, here's the shirt. Which if you can't see the shirt because you're only listening, check out our Instagram, and I'm sure we'll have some stuff on TikTok, Sports Backers. But it's got tons of stuff that I feel like you would see. It just really encompasses the vibe of being out there on race day. We've got the bands, and I love the disco ball is personally my favorite part. I love the disco ball. Somebody needs to put a disco ball up on Monument Avenue.
Right.
And then we've got some water bottles. Somebody looks like they're dance walking. We've got banners, shoes,
got an RVA flag.
Camera flashing, all of it. So it definitely, like, that is the fun vibe. We also have these cute stickers we're giving out promotionally that are like based, that's like terrible. I'm going to hold it up further to the camera. That is based on that artwork that looks amazing.
Then we have the medal too.
So good.
Hold it up close. Yeah, there's the medal, which I love. Just as much as I love the shirt. All of this stuff is like my aesthetic. It looks literally like something I would design because I'm like, this is just great. That's why I keep saying over and over, like, this is just, wow. You guys knocked it out of the park.
Oh, yeah. I'm really into the matte, the matte finish on it is awesome. I think that's so different. Like, I know that they're metals, so yes, but I feel like we go to the traditional, like, showing a lot of metal, and I like that it is just that totally all paint matte look.
I got excited all over again because we've been seeing the mock-ups online, and I'm like, oh, it looks so good, and then it comes in and it's matte, and I was like, wow, like I didn't know that. I like it even more now. So yeah, I'm very excited. This stuff looks really, really nice.
Yeah, I think also we were just talking about, like, we're on the marketing team here at Sports Backers. So we are considered the creatives at this office. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I think, to like everybody's been in, those brainstorming meetings or has started on something where they just like can't get their concepts going. Or so like where in general, not just for the 10K, do you all draw inspiration from? Like what kind of, if you're stuck or you're starting a project, what kind of like jumpstarts you?
Yeah, I think we love to talk about it as a team, especially when we're feeling stuck. We talk through what are the problems, if any, that we're trying to fix, or what's our goal. And, sometimes it means sitting for an hour and really like putting our heads down and trying to figure out what the heck are we doing. And sometimes it's just looking for inspiration, whether it's, we use a lot of online tools like, Pinterest, Dribble, all the go-tos to kind of survey the landscape and see what are other people doing or what's something that I could draw inspiration from. We have a ton of reference materials too in the office. We've got a lot of really great art books and that kind of thing. So we have lots of places to come from, and one of my favorite things to do when I feel stuck is just to step away from the computer.
Yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
When we try and jump straight into designing, it really just starts to not feel right, and then you spend a ton of hours on something that just doesn't feel right.
100%.
When sometimes you just need to take it back to the first step and maybe think about it in a new way.
Yeah, I've always I just love appreciating other people's creative work, even more so than creating it ourselves. So our unofficial tagline that is basically our bio on Instagram is "We're made in Virginia, but we're inspired by everywhere." And
I like that.
And I think we're one of the only agencies, at least here in this town, that we share as much of other people's work as we post of our own on our feed. Because, we aren't the end all be all, like creative agents. I think we make really cool stuff, but at the same time, there's people all around us making really cool stuff in the city and places we travel. And I want to show an appreciation for that and share the excitement I get out of like seeing other stuff other people are making within our account. And obviously we're tagging people and giving them shout outs too for their their work and not by any means, claiming it as our own. And it's a true appreciation. I think for this particular project, the big thing that I kept looking at for inspiration was music festivals. I've been to a couple this year. I know Bridget's been to, she's designed posters for music festivals before, but, with Iron Blossom being its first year here in Richmond this summer, and, just the things from the colors on the flags. And when you walk in, and the arches and the photo ops and the backdrops and, how celebratory and like unified it feels with thousands and thousands of people in a field with these big, beautiful color flags behind you. And we're all there to just chill and relax and all enjoy the same entertainment at the same time. I went to Austin City Limits this year for the second time too. Same deal, where it's just like, it's this iconic kind of footprint, or like, thumbprint in your mind of like, wow, that was a beautiful weekend. The music was fantastic. The merch was incredible, and concepting, colors and line work and all that for the 10K. I was like, man, this feels a lot like a music festival to me. So if we can go look at, Firefly and Coachella and South by Southwest and even local ones here in Richmond, and just see how they've knocked those things out of the park, I think we'd quickly be onto something, and draw inspo from that.
I like it. We should start saying we're Richmond Coachella.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're definitely onto something with that, because that is how it feels. Because last year was my first time being out there, and I turned to Ashley and was like, oh my gosh, I did not realize, one, this many people were in Richmond, which duh, but I was like, what in the world? But two, that they would all come out to one event like this because there's so many people out here. And she was like, yeah, that's what happens. And I was like, okay, this is like my new normal. I'm going to be out here with these huge crowds all the time. So I think because it's so like not as serious as another race, that it's like definitely okay and cool to draw, inspiration from the stuff that you see on the side of the streets.
It's really special. I mean, I'm from Northern Virginia, and they would never in a million years have anything like this. Everybody keeps their head down. Nobody waves at each other. Traffic, and like the fact that everybody here in this city rallies around these sorts of events, it's special. Like we have something incredible here.
Yeah, I think I catch myself like when doing interviews and stuff half the time with the 10K, describing it as more of a festival, because I feel like telling somebody it's a race just doesn't encompass all that you're seeing out there that day. And it is like that weird Richmond festival vibe that is like, you're hanging out like John talked about today at 10K Reveal Day. Like there's a man being chased by a boulder from, a Indiana Jones movie running down Monument Avenue. It's not just people lacing up. It's, friends that are dressed up as the Spice Girls, like McCormick Spices. Like
there's literally a lady painted as She-Hulk talking to a police officer that we have a picture of. And I'm like, this is literally Richmond. Like you look at this picture and nowhere else would this be like normal. And she's just talking to her like, yeah, asking her where to go. And I'm like, wow, this is it. But yeah, I think going back to, trying to figure out the design, what challenges did you encounter when you were trying to design, the shirt and the medal this year?
I know for myself, I won't speak for Jason. It was really different trying to visualize and conceptualize a medal, like a physical piece that you cut into, and thinking about all the different layers and how it all comes together, and would that even work? And there were some concepts where it was like, okay, I'll do a cutout, but then it's like things that I wouldn't even think about, of like, oh, that might be too sharp on the side, or things like that you just don't consider. And because really there were so many possibilities, it was kind of hard to narrow down exactly what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. So I think that was definitely part of the initial challenge. But I think once we got the medal down, it felt like everything else was so like, it all made sense. That was the key that we needed to just like do everything else. And I was really pleased how everything came out as a set.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was not getting too involved with the design work, because this is like this is a dream project of mine. I'm a creative director, but I come from a design background. where a lot of creative directors come from like a copywriting and content background.
Yeah.
So being able to work on something this cool that Richmond is this proud of, and thousands of people are wearing your design work around, is something that like I could have never imagined when I was coming out of college that I'd get to do something like this. And so when our agency got it, Bridget and I literally, like, we don't ever do this, sat in different rooms for a week straight and just worked in silos because I wanted a concept that was not influenced by hers and vice versa. And so, my concept didn't get picked, Bridget's got picked, and I was, it was bittersweet. I was so proud that like hers got picked because we're all a team here. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm mad at myself. I'm like, man, I could have done this different and maybe it would have resonated better. But, it's hopefully the first of many times we get to do this. And I think it's healthy competition where it's like we try different things out and we both, appreciate. We've worked together long enough now where we truly appreciate each other's work. And it really isn't like, oh, no, that they should have picked mine over yours sort of thing. So like I got too obscure in my own design work and I was picking things that, inspiration that might not really be recognizable to the masses, which might lead to confusion. And so I really had to step away from it. And once it seemed like Bridget's design was resonating with sports backers and, the team there that has experience representing this race well, I immediately scrapped my idea and I'm like, I'm full team Bridget now, and any support you need, I'll give you honest, candid feedback on things, but kind of taking my own hands off of it and being like, you lead the charge on this thing. You build the brand guidelines around it. And so anytime we work on a campaign, we really need sort of what I always call a guinea pig to be the orbit or the anchor that is all brand guidelines. So for this, the metal was that, where the line work is a certain stroke weight, and then the colors we're using are specific Pantones, and the iconography we're using is drawn in a very specific way. So the t-shirts, the Instagram posts, the expo sign, whatever we're creating then has to evolve from that initial anchor point. Otherwise, it doesn't look cohesive. So that's where, as Bridget started delegating, t-shirt design to Laura on our team, and having, Emily's doing some of the social media graphics that, we're always as a team coming back to like, does this still honor the essence of the metal? Does it still mesh perfectly with that? If you were to lay all the items on a table, does anything look out of place? And it's not that things should match each other. They should just complement each other very well. And so that's kind of the role I migrated myself to. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to start designing less here and just making sure we're all designing the best we possibly can. To make the set cohesive.
Yeah, and I think it really shows. Like, it definitely looks so cohesive. Like you were saying, it's not like they match, but if you saw them, you know that they go together. Yeah. What were you going to say, Bridget?
Oh, I was just going to say, I wanted to mention that something that was really special about it all is that every single person in our team got to touch this at some point in the process and have something that they can point to and say, oh, I did that. So to your point of just being able to like kind of make something and let it go. And let everybody have their part in creating it. It was really cool.
And was this the first time you mentioned like the metal logistically feeling like a challenge to design? Was this the first time that Think had designed anything that was like race participant items?
I mean, as far as metal goes, we've designed hundreds of t-shirts and that sort of thing before. We've done some three-dimensional product design too, from like, we just last year did exam glove boxes. After COVID, like the medical supply industry kind of blew up. And so that was one of our clients where we were working from, we've designed pocket folders that all have like very specific die cuts and folding mechanisms and glue dots and all of that. So we've done a lot of kind of intricate design work before, but we've never done anything that's a laser engraved or however they're engraving those metals. And trying to get that level of detail with the little dots in the line work to show up like perfectly. And so, the initial metal design was way more complex than the metal turned out being, which I think, is maybe for the better anyway, because we had so much intricate detail into it, that the colors got simplified a little bit from I don't want to say a limitation standpoint, but like production can only do so many things. And
Mm-hmm.
we were honestly awed at like how much you can do with these metals. You know, thinking that a hard substrate like that would be really hard to cut that fine. And so we're very impressed by what they were able to do on an execution standpoint. But we did have to dumb some things down a little bit just to make sure it didn't look too crazy.
Which is crazy because when people, like the participants, see this metal and how detailed it is, they're gonna be like, where did you cut anything out? Because it's like so detailed that it's like, you wouldn't ever think that this wasn't like the first option. So
yeah,
I love it. And I also think that like coming from the person who posts all the social stuff, that stuff is it looks so well put together, and you know, us working together and like you guys being able to do what we normally do, because like I said, or like we were talking about earlier, you know, you guys haven't done a project like this before. You've done like posters and other things like that. So being able to make social posts and helping me out, and it just I'm very appreciative for you guys because it helps a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's in our best interest too that the whole thing gets rolled out like beautifully, and not that we don't doubt that you can do that in any sort of way. It's just like any way we can help, you know, as far as, you know, sharing sort of that, because you guys don't get the luxury of sitting in the same room of us like slaving away at making sure every line weight's exactly the same. So like those are the sorts of things where I'm extremely particular and OCD about those things. So if we can at least create like some of that stuff and you guys kind of see how we're doing it too, you know, the more the merrier sort of thing. And, you know, you guys run a pretty tight Instagram account, and like it looks well thought through and well done. And, you know, so I think the road was paved already, so to speak, no pun intended, of, you know, us being able to dive in and sort of add our little artistic twist to things too, if you guys are open to it. And if we're stepping on toes and getting in the way, we will step back. But you know, we've had a lot of fun creating all the little bells and whistles and promo teasers and all that stuff too. You know, there's only so many hours in the day to do everything we want to do, and you know, I've had to scale back the scope of what I wanted to do for this project, which there aren't enough hours in the day to do. But yeah, no, thank you for letting us you know, add a little bit of flair to the social posting and the teasers and stories and all that. We love making that stuff. So
yeah, no, I complimented Cameron today. I just assumed it was Cameron. Today, right before reveal day, I was like, I love those graphics you've been posting with, like, I shared one last night on my story. I was like, with the metal and the sticker, like, looking like it's like peeling off to reveal. And she was like, oh, that's not me. That's Thing.
Yeah, I was like, that was not me, girl.
But yeah, no, and to your point, I mean, I think it shows that you know our brand and have really paid a lot of attention to that, and especially with what we do on social, because that totally looks like something we would post, but also is like really tied in with everything else. So it just makes for such a clean rollout of something that is easy to connect, and I think makes people really excited about it. Even just little details, but like just everything in the same color family, all of the same types of shapes and lines. Like it definitely shows, you know, how crisp the technique is.
Sweet.
So now that we've really just gone over the design, we were wondering, as designers, as everybody does tend to have, do you have any favorite elements of the design?
I love the typography itself, and we weren't the ones to create the 25th anniversary lockup, but we've definitely like built off of that. So yeah, we built an entire sort of numerical alphabet 0 to 9 of, you know, we were given the certain numbers like the 2 and the 5, obviously, but then it was like 2000 to 2024. So we already had like 0, 1, 2, 4, and then we've been building the 3, the 5, the 6, or whatever off of that. It's a really cool, I think. I hate to use the word trendy because I think this could be kind of a timeless thing, but it feels right for this year with all the other design inspiration that we look at. The sort of the double lines mixed with the single lines on the 2.5 lockup. Is been really cool to evolve into different, you know, even the training team thing, we were starting to incorporate that into it too. we slaved over getting the K right on the 10K on the medal. We probably made like 40, 50 different versions of Ks because I was the thorn in everybody's side. I'm like, it's not right. It's not right. Like that K looks too top heavy. It looks too bottom heavy. It looks pregnant. Like it looks like something about it is imbalanced just so, like the 2 and the 5 are. And so when we did get it to a place where I'm like, okay, now this feels like it in the lockup, like everything fits together. The composition feels harmonious and balanced, and move on to the next thing, sort of thing. What's your favorite?
Well, I was going to say, when you started talking about the typography, I feel like that was the moment once I had done the 10K in the style of the 25 year. I was like, oh, okay, we're cooking. We're getting somewhere. This feels right. But I really like all of the elements that we created for the t-shirts. And it was fun and thinking about what makes sense on here. And like, I think sitting and talking with our other designer, Laura, we kind of threw a bunch of stuff out there. I'm trying to think of things that we put on the t-shirt initially, and we were like, okay, let's reel it back a little bit of like, this feels a little too crazy, or like, it's fun, but maybe
we should right. We should share our design graveyard with you guys of all the things we did cut. Because there was like so many celebratory like ideas and icons and things that we illustrated, and we were like, this might be too much, and it probably isn't too much in the scheme of things if you had a ribbon that was 100 feet long, but the t-shirt is only so many square inches or whatever it is. And, the icons can't be the hero. It needs the 10K is the hero. So picking the right ones, like I'm glad you guys like the disco ball, and the music notes are always like a big part, to me. I always like seeing the live music out there. And, but having things that are appropriate for a race too, that don't feel like too much of a stretch. But I'm sure you guys have seen this stuff too, like that. Rattling off the ballerinas and the tutus and the huge afros and the mohawks and that I've seen people run with canoes with the hole cut out at the bottom of the canoe where they're carrying the canoe down there's so many random obscure things we could put in there, but it's like, at what point is it just too weird and like people are like, what the heck is it?
Richmond's a weird place. I don't know.
Or like capturing that like essence of like what would be like the average, not average, but like the average person's experience and like what their takeaway is, because you see so many different things that I'm sure it would be hard at times to be like, what is a commonality that we can be confident that like everyone is taking away from this race day? And I think you nailed it. I'm a sucker for anything that is like adorable illustrated too. So I feel like even the medal looks like a print that I would want to buy for my house of something like uniquely Richmond. So I think Fave
what's your fave? Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your fave?
Oh, my fave. I just really love that disco ball. Like, I'm loving the disco ball. I'm loving the dancing person. And on the medal, I love a row house. Like, that's a boring thing to say is my favorite, but I love a row house. Like, I just think that is something. We sell a 10K merch shirt that has row houses on it that I am aiming to get my paws on this year. And then, I have row house art in my house. So I just think you feel like you're in the fan when you look at that medal.
Yeah.
A lot of historic cities, will protect, I'm thinking about like Savannah, Georgia, or Charleston, South Carolina. They'll protect, huge sections of their city. So even when businesses move in, there's only so much you can do as a business. You have to leave the structure as is. And in Richmond, Monument is like our version of that. There's plenty of law firms and dentist offices and all that along Monument, but you wouldn't know it, unless you walked up and looked at the plaques on the doors or whatever. It truly is like a beautiful street because we preserved it, and those 100-year-old houses, are gorgeous, and this Monument 10K wouldn't have that same aesthetic if we hadn't preserved the look and feel of that kind of like early 20th century architecture. So getting those houses like integrated into the metal, I thought was super cool that Bridget was able to pull that off how she did. I don't know that I've seen, not that it hasn't been done, but other race medals that truly like bring out the essence of the architecture of a city and just like someone's home, in the essence of a prize medal. It might
Yeah.
be, some big building that's iconic as the Space Needle in Seattle or the Washington Monument, but this is truly just people's homes, but they themselves are iconic to Richmond.
Yeah, kudos to you, Bridget. It's beautiful.
Hello, Bridget.
What's your favorite part? You asked me. What's yours?
We have the same style.
I
so
love
it's
that.
Literally just the disco ball. The sparkles, definitely, because I love a good sparkle. And the RVA flag I think it's really cute.
I have an RVA flag up on my wall in my house too. We do have the same
Ashley
aesthetic.
does too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cute.
Well, I think we're going to launch into our this or that's with you all quickly. So Cameron said, I'll do this one because I had already come up with this one before Cameron came downstairs, and she clued me in that you all might have already discussed this, oddly enough, at Reveal Day.
Earlier. Yeah.
So I didn't hear your opinion, so I'll ask this one. Bright colors or neutral palette? What do you prefer when designing, or even personally, what you gravitate towards?
I think I'm a neutral color person, but a colorful designer.
Okay. That's interesting. Very
I
interesting.
gravitate towards color when I design, I think.
Yeah. I'm definitely a neutral palette person. I'm of the theory that, anytime we design a website for another artist, art museums themselves on the inside of the art museum should never be the thing that stands out. The art itself should stand out. So the artist should, that's why, the iconic Steve Jobs all black, every art director looks like that, it's because you yourself are not the artwork. It's what you're creating that's the artwork, and so that's where you got to be a little bit humble and modest as an artist, to let your work shine, because if you're the flagrant, obnoxious, whatever eccentric person, then it's almost like a little bit of compensation in a way. And I know I'm over answering this question, but that's why I gravitate to the neutral colors. When it comes to Bridget's point, like how we design, I 100% submerge myself in what the brand is. So and what's right for the brand. So it has nothing to do with Jason or even Think anymore once we get a new client. So, if it is a bright, eccentric, vibrant brand, then why should it be Jason or Bridget's neutral? We need to do what's right for the person that's using this and their audience. Which is why, I think just a black and white and gold, Monument 10K would be amazing. And it'd be, jaw-droppingly gorgeous, but it doesn't have that same vibrancy and fun confetti vibe as what we have been designing. So it really just depends on the project and the client we're working with.
Yeah, I would have a hard time. As you were saying that, I feel like if I was a true designer, everything would look exactly like what I prefer.
Just nudes and beiges and browns.
Yeah.
Also, you said you felt like you were long-winded on that. I mean, that's what this or that's are for, Jason. We get people pay a little, they enjoy answering the first few questions. Then we like to get people into this or that's, and all of a sudden they want to give us a 20-minute answer because they feel so passionately about it. So that's the section we're on.
The one thing that I am anti is only using safe colors for banks and compliance type things. People come to us and they're like, all right, we need a logo. We want you to push the envelope. How about a blue? Or how about something that doesn't look like every single person in your space? Right. Try something else. So I become a little anti-conformity on color where if everybody's doing one thing, I want to swim the other direction. But yeah, I mean, that's just part of, you gotta please people sometimes, and you gotta conform and oblige to, who's paying the bills sometimes too. So it's a tricky thing. I like giving people options though.
Yeah.
Next one, we had to ask Dion about this because I'm one and he's the other. So, but I'm sure you guys will be on the same page. So for this one, it is Adobe or Canva.
We're laughing just because we saw a LinkedIn post this week from someone that swears by Canva, and they had a meme with Photoshop in the background, scout.
Yeah.
The artist. I don't an answer for Bridget, but I already know what her answer is. So
Dion also thought you'd have the same answer. Yeah.
He was like, they're immediately gonna pick one.
Yeah, well, I hate pretentious snobby entities in life. And unfortunately, we are that when it comes to design. Like there's a reason why
Which it could be.
creative is there, and it's for professional creatives. Like that, we went to school for this. We paid money to learn how to use these tools. In a lot of years of our life, like trying to fine tune a professional craft. And when a Canva comes along, like it serves a purpose. And like no shade to Canva users, not everybody went to school for production and design.
Right.
Even if you did and you're using Canva and you found creative ways to use it, that's awesome. But at the same time, like when someone comes to us and they're like, hey, can you create a PowerPoint for us? I'm like, well, can I create a well-designed PDF for you instead? Because if so, then I can do all these other things in Illustrator and InDesign and all that. PowerPoint's just limited and Canva's limited. It's the same with websites, Squarespace and Wix serve a purpose for a certain audience, and WordPress and Drupal and all these other, deep code-centric platforms serve another purpose. So, your audience today is people that use products. And Christine, uses Canva and thinks it's fun. Yeah, so it's the last thing I want to do is come across is up in
Canva's for losers.
I mean, it's obviously a very successful product for a reason. I think we'd be extremely limited in what
you would be.
Yeah. And to even see that was just kind of because like Photoshop isn't the professional version of Canva. The Illustrator or like InDesign, Canva is just kind of like a one size fits all like multi-tool where Adobe has an entire, I hate when people say Creative Suite because Creative Suite hasn't been around in over 10 years, but the Creative Suite of applications in Creative Cloud, there's a reason why there's a whole bunch of different applications there. And one is to make Adobe a lot of money because you got to pay for each one individually. But the other is that each one of those applications do something very different. And when you have a bandit like Canva to do everything under the sun, there's a reason, it can only go so far and do so much. So, again, this is a podcast and I feel like I'm teaching a class on this stuff. What are your thoughts?
So for Adobe, but a lot of it is like I've helped friends who will show me their Canva and like, can you just look at this and like make a few tweaks, and I'm going in and I'm frustrated because I don't have all the options that I normally do. And it's like, all right, it's like, can I just make this in Illustrator for you and then I'll give it back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love making analogies, and like to me, the one I use quite a bit is like a salon or a hairstylist. Like to me, like Canva would be like just one set of shears that you bought at like a stable. Where a real barber not only has clippers, but has like 100 guards that clip onto the clippers and, different shears and all sorts of things. Like Canva is just one pair of scissors that might have like a wine opener on the back of it, it's just not a tool for everything,
Yeah, I agree. Cause I'm literally in Canva all day, every day. And even with like the unlimited, I'll try to do stuff and I'm like, I guess I'm getting a little too advanced for you guys right now. So yeah, it's for like the simple stuff. But I think Dion is always like, I'm not getting on Canva. I'm like, okay, it's fine.
I used to be much more like, because I was a journalism background, so I had to take like a bunch of Adobe classes, nowhere near designing. But I was much more like before Canva came out, like that's how I made everything. And then Ashley and Dion are probably pumped that Canva came out, even though they are with you all and obviously much more Adobe, because they're probably glad that I'm not on the other side of the cubicle constantly being like, can you come show me that thing that you showed me last week 3 times because I forgot it again.
Right.
So they're probably pumped that it's available. So I'm just over there making my own clip art.
Clip art, literally. Like we would never try to design a medal in Canva ever. But if we need like a little graphic,
I mean, it's a quick, fast thing to teach and to learn and to use. And far less expensive than any Adobe product. So yeah, I mean, that's awesome for Canva and users that use Canva. Again, like no judgment whatsoever. It's just
we're just not designing.
You're not getting these beautiful products over here with that.
With just using Canva, like it would be really hard for us to do.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, your final one is a little bit more fun. Night before the race, visualize you're signed up for the 10K. You get a text from the Jammin' Grannies, and they want you to come out dressed as a granny on their annual granny bar crawl. Are you doing that? Or you got to wake up early? You got to be ready for the start line. Are you going out with the Jammin' Grannies and saying, forget it, we're not getting our PR tomorrow? Or are you going to bed, waking up early for the 10K start line?
Oh, I think I would go.
Hang out with the grannies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why not? It feels like I'm always up for an opportunity or a new opportunity, or I wouldn't want to miss out. I don't know. I feel like I'd have FOMO.
FOMO.
Yeah, easily.
1000% dress up as an old lady and go hang out with the grannies. Like, no question.
I love it. I was going to say, I don't know if they've had any Jammin' Grampies, I guess, is the flip side of that, but you could be the first.
They don't need that. I'll just dress up as a woman.
Right.
I like that.
Granny.
It's commitment.
Yeah. I would easily go out with them too.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. I think I bring it up and stuff every single year. I'm just subtly waiting for my call up. They haven't reached out, but maybe sometime.
No. I'm sure they're taking applications.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. We loved having you on. And I think it's just, so many people are going to get these, literally thousands. So I think it's fun for people to be able to hear the thought process behind the design and to know how much work goes into it, because it is a lot of work to get something that looks this great. It is.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. We're honored and flattered, and thank you guys for all the kind words and including us in reveal day and all the festivities to come. And we're looking forward to partying with you guys on all this stuff.
Yeah,
thanks.
You.
Well, really appreciate it, and y'all have a great rest of your day, and we will see the rest of you next week on the Move.
All right.
Bye.